Thank you, sir.
Masood.
Stefan, talking about the report that was issued yesterday, which you seem to have summarily dismissed on the rights of Palestinians being denied by Israel. Did the Secretary General find nothing of value in that report that he could applaud at all?
I think the point we made, and that I made yesterday, is that the report that was published by ESQA does not reflect the views of the Secretary General. It was published without prior consultations with headquarters. I think the views of the Secretary General on the situation on the ground are well known and reported often, and in fact monthly, to the Security Council.
So, let me ask you this question about this United States going to cut funding of so on and so forth. Why is it taking such a long time for the Secretary General of the United Nations to establish contacts with the Trump administration to discuss all these issues, although you have assured them that we are willing to...
I disagree with the premise of your question, as the Secretary General has met multiple times with the representative of the U.S. government, Ambassador Nikki Haley, and is in close contact with her on reform issues, on all sorts of issues. So I think the line of communications are open and well used. Abdelhamid.
Thank you, Stefan. As a follow-up to the same question, does the UN have the right to pick and choose where or when a definition, a political definition, is applied? For example, the UN has reached a definition of who is a refugee, what is genocide, what is the crime of aggression, and what is apartheid. Does the UN have a right to choose when the same symptoms of a phenomena is applied in two different regions? Why it calls one apartheid and the other is not apartheid? Can you give me concrete evidence that what Israel is doing toward the Palestinian people is not apartheid?
What I'm telling you is that the report that was published was not cleared through, was given no preliminary advance notice to headquarters, and doesn't reflect the views of the Secretary General. The Secretary General's views on the current conflict between the Israeli and Palestinians, as I said, has been told over and over again. Every month, we hear the Secretary General's views in a briefing in the Security Council, usually through his special coordinator. And if the views change, we will be the first ones to know. These are.
Yeah, the previous report, which was about injustice in the Arab world, also was taken out from the ASQA, although it was presented to the United Nations, and the Secretary General had a look at it. But it looks like after the delisting of Saudi Arabia from the Children in Armed Conflict report and that list, United Nations looks more amenable to pressure. And some scholars may find it better to publish before the United Nations because the United Nations is selective in its publishing.
That report was the work of independent experts, and it was published under their own steam.
Why not under the United Nations?
I think we've gone through this issue when the report was issued. If there's one thing that we do quite often here, is issue reports. There are a lot of reports that come out. A lot of reports that come out in the Secretary General's names. You can find his. We are not in we're not an organization where the Secretary General's opinion are unclear. If you look at all the reports that are issued in his name, whether the Security Council or the General Assembly, they're there, and they're written by the United Nations and with the Secretary General's name on it, and he stands by them. If independent experts wish to publish, they publish under their own steam.
But the United Nations is widely accused these days of being eclectic about what to publish and what not to publish.
The United Nations is widely accused, and I think it's been widely accused for decades, and we will deal with those accusations. Yes, sir.
You're accused of more than being eclectic, but So I wanted to ask you about Myanmar. There's a new report out by the Rakhine Commission under Kofi Annan. I don't know if the Secretariat has a view on it, and also the UK ambassador asked him about it, and he said that there's actually a Security Council session on Myanmar tomorrow. I wanted to know if the Secretary is briefing. If
Yes,
so, who's doing it?
Jeff Feltman will brief tomorrow on Myanmar. We're obviously aware of the report. I know the Secretary General spoke to his, not to his immediate, but one of his predecessors, to Kofi Annan, recently about the report. We hope that the recommendations are an opportunity for the government and the people of Rakhine State to work together on concrete measures to improve the lives of the communities in the state. And we will continue to encourage governments to allow full humanitarian access in northern Rakhine State and follow on its promises to establish an independent investigation into allegations of human rights violations.
Okay. I also wanted to ask you about in the DRC the two internationals and I think it's 4 nationals, or do you know how many Congolese?
My understanding is that it's 2 internationals and 3 Congolese.
Okay. What I wanted.
Yes, ma'am.
When you say that the report doesn't reflect the views of the Secretary General, what do you mean exactly? I mean, are you talking about the two-state solution? And fact on the ground, you have occupation and you have people, Palestinians, who are not allowed to take some streets, some entries, to go some places, and Israelis only allowed to do it. So what's in these facts doesn't reflect the view of the Secretary
I think this
General?
is not a report that the Secretariat was able to see before it was released. So it doesn't reflect the views of the Secretary General. I think the Secretary General, if you look at what he said in the past, has always insisted on the need to avoid any actions that would derail the two-state solution. All core issues should be resolved between all parties through direct negotiations on the basis of the relevant Security Council agreements. We have always called for freedom of movement. There are always calls of principles that we've made, and those positions are clear.
Not only a freedom of movement, it's occupation. I mean,
I
in
think
your own...
I think you look. I think again, I would refer. If you're looking for what the Secretary General believes and thinks, I would look back to his previous statements to the Security Council.